Hey everybody, this is Technical and Tactical with Rick and Rick, hosted by the Drone Dialogues. I'm Ricky for the sake of this podcast. He is Rick. Rick, let's or Dad, let's talk about let's talk about 2 days ago, the Supreme or 3 days ago, the Supreme Court decision to remove the unlawful ban on bump stocks.
That was such exciting news. As you know, I've been working on fighting the Bumpstock debacle since it started. I wrote declaration for the gentleman that owns Military Arms Channel. We won, we lost. It grew legs, and other people got involved and started fighting it. And it's finally been overturned. And the Bumpstock is not a machine gun. We went through the definitions. We laid it out 100%. No way does it match the definition of a machine gun in the Gun Control Act or the National Firearms Act. What's really good about this is my opinions that I wrote for ATF was the same opinion that was used to overturn this in the Supreme Court. And it's over. This is the highest of the land. It's over. The bump stock is officially a legal device to put on a semi-automatic firearm to enhance your rate of fire. It is not a machine gun as machine guns are defined. Now, the other issue that came up was the vacator of the arm brace debacle. Now, as you all know, I am not an attorney. I will tell you this: they're selling arm braces now. There's going to be a hearing with August with all the cases together. Having discussion with other people through the weekend, this is my biggest concern. What
Okay.
is an arm brace? There's now no documentation, no statute, nothing that tells you what an arm brace is. So is ATF just going to arbitrarily call anything that you attach to the rear of your handgun a stock? So it's not an arm brace. What is it? It's a stock, because you can attach anything to the buffer tube of an AR-15, and since their factoring criteria didn't stand up, they had no SOP with criteria, they had no guidelines with criteria. What is the next step going to be? That's my fear. That
Okay.
the
Yeah.
they cannot call the arm brace a stock. I'm sorry, they vacated the rule that said arm braces were stocks. But what is going to be the definition of an arm brace? Is this going to be allowed to be up to the industry? Where if I design it with something to go on my arm, it's an arm brace, not a stock? That's what's fearful for me right now. You got any
So
questions, Ricky?
yeah, just some questions and some comments. I mean, this has kind of been, and it's we're not as loud and vocal and look at me. I I joked with you about before this video I was going to come on here with a backwards baseball cap with a cigar and a beer and be like rah 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 f you feds, because I think a lot of people see this as an opportunity to be antagonistic, whereas you and I are just trying to get like say this is the law, this is information, but correct me if I'm wrong, but this is kind of one of your babies, right? Is testing to make sure this stood within the definition of not being a machine gun, correct?
On the say that again. I didn't hear you.
This sort of is one of your babies, and the legality of it, as in making sure it's not classified as a machine gun because that would be against the definition.
That's exactly right. I don't get into, well, I think that everybody should own an M60 tank. I get into, we got to follow the regulations, whether we like to or not. I understand and I accept the Second Amendment.
I got you. I got you. Like just like, oh, you and I have been following the whole nonviolent felons owning firearms. Oh, it passed in some of the district courts, right? But until the law of the land says, hey, nonviolent felons can own handguns, or in the future, everyone can own machine guns, let's not jump the gun unless you have a couple $1 million you want to pay an attorney to go to the Supreme Court.
As you know, and I've said this before, I testify a lot on behalf of the firearms industry and people with frivolous lawsuits. One thing they all have in common is it costs money.
Yeah,
The government does not have to worry about spending money because they have attorneys on staff.
and they keep
They
refunding.
get paid 365. If they work 24 hours a day, they get paid. You have to hire an attorney. So before you get overzealous and saying, I'm going to get something regardless of what the feds say, please verify that it's lawful. As of right now, the bump stock is lawful. The law of the land has said it is not a machine gun. The arm brace, they say it's lawful. But I'm still concerned that ATF is just going to arbitrarily say, well, it's been vacated. The rule has been vacated. Now, listen to that. The rule has been vacated. They did not say the ability to charge for a short barrel rifle was vacated. So if
Right.
ATF arbitrarily decides that according to this rule, there's no such thing as an arm brace, we'll just call them all stocks. Now, I'm not trying to be negative, Nancy, because everybody's selling them and everybody's putting them on the gun. I'm just saying, if something comes out and you hear that ATF is charging arm braces as stocks, remove yours and make sure that you don't have to go to jail and fight it.
Yeah. And um, just to sort of talk about the opposite side of this argument, um, I've seen a lot of public releases from organizations such as the Newtown Alliance, um, and some other groups where it's the unfortunate situation where they have lost family members, two crazy people with guns. Um, and I see a lot of people going into their replies or commenting publicly, using profanity against them, telling them, come and take it, stack the F up or shut up. It's like, listen, I don't agree with their views on firearms, but these are people who have lost family members to gun violence. So while I do believe they are wrong in their pursuit of banning guns, I don't think that's a reason to act hostile towards them. And you can speak to this. You and I both, Dad, we can admit this. You and I both in our lives have been extreme hotheads. You know,
Yeah.
you've gotten in trouble at work before. I've gotten in trouble from the law. This is a reality. With age comes us being able to tell some people, hey, cool it. Just cool it. If someone says something you disagree with, say, this is how you're wrong. The Second Amendment protects my right to firearms. I'm sorry a family member of yours is no longer alive because of these things, but these are my rights. It's backed by the Supreme Court. And I mean, but we know what's going to happen next. Next, it's well, let's attack the Supreme Court. These are Trump appointees. It's like, well,
And they've already started.
yeah, yeah,
And there was something, it was on CNN or MSNBC, one of the Soviet Socialist headquarter news said this morning that Trump has a potential of getting one more Supreme Court justice. And I can't remember the exact verbiage they said, but you can imagine where this led. That he will name himself king and he will forever be the president of the United States. But you hit it on the head. Let people espout their opinions, and we need to stay professional and say, look, I own this because the law allows me to, or the regulations, or the Supreme Court, whatever you say.
hmm
You don't need to get in bashing other people on the head. And what's the young man from Parkland, a school?
uh, uh, um, David Hogg.
I, I don't go on and bash him, even though he bashes anybody just like us. Let him do that. He'll that's what he's trying to make money with. Let him make money.
Yeah,
We
let,
just
let,
need
let
to
him have a
stay
career. Just
professional.
ignore him. Don't give him the clicks.
Exactly. Let's just ignore those type of people and keep on fighting. Help the Foreign Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America. I've been working with them since I left ATF. Just a phenomenal group. Those guys go out and help the industry. They help private citizens. They collect the money that's needed to fight some of these cases. So I'm not going to name the two large branches that collect money to pay salaries, but everybody knows who they are.
Mhm.
But FPC, um, Gun Owners of America, those types of groups are really doing an extremely good job.
Okay. So on our, it was just a few days ago. A few days ago, it went up, but during our machine guns podcast, we had talked about, it's hard to go back. You had mentioned that now that society has gotten used to this pre-86 law, that it's going to take a huge effort, as a lot of us pro gun people, take it back. I'm a pro Second Amendment person, but in that I am pro protection, pro firearm, but primarily I mean, heck, give me all the amendments. I love them, right? Uh, and I know people like to make jokes about repeal the 19th. Yeah, ha ha ha. It's funny, whatever. Um, but anyway, um, oh gosh, I was going somewhere with this. So anyway, is
But I know what to say. I know where you're headed to.
Oh yeah, sorry, sorry. So do you think this sort of opens up a not necessarily a river, but a tiny little stream to repeal the machine gun ban?
Well, that's Section 9220 of the Gun Control
Yeah.
Act and went in effect on May 19th, 1986. I do not believe, this is Rick's opinion, that even if you get a Republican Congress and a Republican Senate, that they will repeal that. They are too scared that if they repeal it and we can start buying machine guns over the counter, which there was no issue before 1986, but there's a lot more knowledge and money. For example, when I was a young man, I met a guy with a silencer. I thought he was like a super spook, because I didn't know how to get one. And the same with machine guns. Well, now with the internet, everybody knows how to buy these. And I'm telling you right now, if 9220 was struck down, I'd be one of the first people purchasing machine guns. I would do it in a heartbeat. I want a Browning automatic rifle. From 75,000, it would drop down to,
Yeah.
10, 15,000. I could afford that.
Yeah.
So M16s, God, they would be $1,200,
Oh
$1,500.
yeah. Yeah. Very cheap.
Everybody can afford these.
Yeah.
So the ramifications to the politicians is if we overturn 9220 and then real legal machine guns start going on the street and killing people, what's going to happen to our career? That's what they're going to be thinking. So I do not foresee 922-0 ever being overturned. But
Yeah.
that's what needs to happen if we're going to start getting basic free use of machine guns back into our hands, like it used to be in the early days.
I tend to agree. I don't think it's going to be a legislation that repeals that law. I think the only way it happens is if someone who is let's just say otherwise upstanding citizen is pulled over and has an untax stamped or whatever you want to call it machine gun. And he does it on purpose. He says, I have the money, I have millions in savings, I'm going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is going to say that the 86 law is unconstitutional. I I mean, not to get too much into politics.
Well, I don't want to get in the weeds on that, Ricky, but the Supreme Court has to agree to hear it. That probably wouldn't get past the appeals court because was he convicted of a law? Did he break the law? Yes, he did. So you see what I mean? There's gonna have to be enough information to push that into the appeals court and then go into the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I don't think you would ever get there because it's a direct violation of a law.
That the thing is this is exactly what happened with, I'm sorry, the gentleman's name who pushed the lawsuit, is it Cargill?
Cargo, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I, I guess it's one of those things where we sort of question, like, if someone like him could push the bump stock thing.
Well, he abandoned his and then sued, so he wasn't prosecuted,
Gotcha, gotcha. So someone with enough money and power to sue it up until it gets to that point.
and he had support from FPC, Farm Policy Coalition,
Yeah.
and I testified on a trial where an individual specifically wanted to take Silencers to the Supreme Court, and I won't get into the weeds, but he mailed it in to the FBI, and then he mailed it into the judge. So ATF took the case. He got convicted, and it never went past the appeals court because he was convicted of law. But hey, we
Yeah,
were going to do this short today. I want to make sure I haven't said this before, but you guys look at my website, look at my LinkedIn, shoot me an email if anybody needs any assistance in their corporation. As you know, I help out as a compliance expert on NFA, ATF compliance, and manufacturing.
hey, Dad, go ahead and shout out your email address too, and I'll actually put it in the comments when I post this.
It's Rick at rickvasquezfirearms.com. And my email address is on my LinkedIn and on my website and my Facebook, I believe, also.
Okay,
But
and if you want to reach me because maybe I don't know, maybe you want to push back against this conversation, or maybe you want to be the third person talking with us about further discussions, and you're not going to be, well, a goon about it. Go ahead and email me at dronedialogues@gmail.com. It's exactly how it sounds. And hey, Dad, I appreciate you making some time to make this podcast. I know, I'm really busy uh, in retirement, and you're extremely busy in retirement. So the fact that we could, unload our busy schedule to, to make this podcast is pretty cool.
well, everybody out there have a great firearms day.
Yeah, go celebrate, but legally, right?
Legally, yes. I'll
All
see you,
right,
son.
have a good one, Dad. Later.